Hi and welcome to another video. This video is going to be just going through an incident that I had at my property probably about a week, 2 weeks ago. Just going to talk you through what happened, how I dealt with it, and also where you kind of stand with this kind of stuff. As you know, there's a lot of people's dogs being stolen, dog nappings, etc. going on around. It happens around my area as well. There was one pretty close to where I live, pretty close to the date this happened. So yeah, I'm just going to talk you through that. So my as-do question for this video is very relative to what I'm going to talk about. So can you tell me the latest Dangerous Dogs Act, what year that was? Down in the comments below, let me know what year you think it is. So about a week or 2 weeks ago, I was sitting at home. I've said before, I've got lots of CCTV around my house in case of incidents, in case something happens, just to cover my own back, to cover the dog's back as well, just in case something really does go wrong. But also to keep an eye on him of an evening, and if he's out in the garden, then I can keep my eye on him as well. And I was sitting at home when I looked on the camera just to see what he was doing outside, and I flicked onto the camera that goes straight up my field into the orchards, and I could see a torchlight being flashed around at the top of my field, which is quite close to the fence line. And it normally wouldn't be too suspicious to have a torch in the dark, but this was 1:45 on a Thursday, so I found that quite suspicious. Now, knowing my dog was out there, jumped up, put on I think I might have even just had my slippers on, went outside, called the dog, and as you can see in the video, the dog was sort of halfway, maybe a quarter of the way up the field, just watching the torch. He come back to me, I got him inside. I decided to just watch, see what was going on with the torch, and whether it was to do with me shouting or whether they was going to be doing it anyway. The person with the torch started shining the torch straight up my field, straight at the camera as well, at the buildings. So not only was they acting suspicious about being out there at 1:45 on a Thursday, the fact that they were shining a torch straight up my field I found quite questionable as well. And later that night I actually went out there, when I took the dog for his walk, I kind of went out there with the lead and the torch myself, and just kind of stood around and just listened to see if there was anything going on, see if I could see the torch again. This was probably about half hour after this all happened, and luckily enough nothing was there, so that was the end of that. But just want to talk to you about what could have happened, where I stood if it had happened, etc, etc. So it's important to say that this is not just for my dog as a protection dog, this is for all dogs, whether it be a pet, protection, or anything like that. And the Dangerous Dogs Act is to stop people having dangerous, out of control dogs, whether that be in public, whether that be at their house themselves. They changed it a little while ago, and I've gone through the legislation, although it's quite hard to read because it's obviously written by a lawyer, where they say things like where the owner of the dog may not be in prosecution, it may be the person that has hold of the dog, but as for the person that owns the dog, etc. So I actually just googled, and I found a blog which kind of puts a bit of it in layman terms, the amendment that was in 2014, and just puts it a little bit easier to read and probably a bit easier for me to get over to you. So where do you stand in terms of people entering your property, whether it be someone that you know or someone that's burgling, someone you don't know, etc. What they've done is they've tried to make it a lot clearer. So the blog that I found is called dfordog.co.uk, and on there they've got amended Dangerous Dog Act, what you need to know. And basically the intention was to close a loophole in the law that makes it difficult to prosecute dog attacks to take place on private property following a string of attacks on private land. So what is important to understand now is that your back garden and front garden is not known as private property anymore. Someone that accesses that, it's not a breach in terms of that your dog is now able to do what he wants without any repercussions. And the main changes are: it is an offence to own or be in charge of a dangerously out of control dog in a public place and now also on private property, including your home and garden. If a pet attacks a guide dog or other assistance dog, it is now covered by amended dangerous dog legislations. So now what you have to understand is that assistance dogs are treated the same as human beings. Dog owners can now be prosecuted if their dog attacks or threatens to attack a person, even if it is on private property. So let's take my situation and try and flip it on two different ways. So we've got a person that's walking their dog at midnight on a Thursday, as unbelievable as that sounds, and they are walking on my fence line. If my dog goes up to the fence line and that person feels threatened, or they fear that they could be attacked, that comes under the Dangerous Dog Act. It's not as an attack doesn't actually have to happen anymore. It's if the person fears or feels that they could be attacked, they are covered under the Dangerous Dog Act. Now I know my dog, and my dog constantly walks with people up the side of the field without any problems whatsoever. I've not known him to be aggressive towards people. If they've got dogs, sometimes he barks, but that's more a frustration because he's socialised with dogs and people. A lot of it's a frustration that he doesn't get to play with the dog. He runs up and down, but in terms of actual play and sort of play fighting, it's more frustration that he can't do that. So I know my dog, and I know that if a person's acting normal and just walking, he'll be fine. He'll let you go about your business. If the situation changes and he feels uncomfortable with that, he will give a warning to you as a bark saying, don't do that, I'm not comfortable with that happening. So if this person is walking their dog midnight on a Thursday, as unbelievable as it sounds, and he goes up and he's nice and quiet and he's just sort of looking at them, if they then enter my premises and he barks but they carry on and he bites, he is then in breach of the Dangerous Dogs Act. He is out of control, he's attacking a person. Whether they've come into his garden or not, it doesn't matter anymore. And as much as I know my dog, could I be 100% sure that if I wasn't around he wouldn't bite someone? Now you see it on programs all the time, dogs that are strays, dogs that have been abused, they're the ones that are biters. So my dog in training is taught to bite on command, but he is taught to bite. Now if you put pressure on him and threaten him and he feels that there's no way out, a bit like aggressive dogs that are pets that have been beaten, they will bite in order to protect themselves. So I couldn't 100% say that if he felt threatened and someone tried to attack him he wouldn't bite them, because possibly he could, the same way any other pet would. But with the training, if I'm around, I know that he'll only bite on command, because he knows he's got the backing, he's got someone that he looks to assess the situation and tell him what to do. So where do you stand with someone actually burgling your house or a part of your property, whether that be your outside shed? So like I said, if someone enters your back garden or front garden, it's no longer known as private property. So if someone breaks into your garden and is breaking into your shed, if your dog attacks them, they are in breach of the Dangerous Dogs Act. When it comes to the home, it changes a little bit. So in this blog there is a bit on that, and this amendment is: last year, when the amendments were first proposed, concerns were raised regarding where dog owners stand if their dog attacks a burglar. This has been addressed. Burglars attacked by a dog in the household will not be protected by the amended Act. This does not include persons visiting your home or coming to your property though. So where you stand with that, if someone breaks into your house where the dog is, they are not protected by the Dangerous Dog Act. That's kind of you entering, the dog has nowhere to go, and you've entered its area. Now this Dangerous Dog Act is to help people like the emergency services, postmen, delivery people, that they can enter premises without the fear of being attacked, without being physically attacked. But in terms of burglars, if they break in, they are not covered by the Dangerous Dog Act. But on the flip side to that, you cannot use your dog to stop someone escaping. So let's say someone breaks into your house through a window and they then confronted with the dog. If they turn around and try to go back out the window and the dog stops them from doing that, then the dog can then be out of control and in breach of the Dangerous Dog Act. The best way to think of it is, if your dog bites someone on the front, so whether that be the belly, the thigh, maybe the arm, that shows that the person was confronting the dog. If there's a bite on the calf, back of the leg, the bum or the back, then that is probably evidence that the person was trying to get away and the dog or you have stopped them from doing that. So although it says that burglars are not protected by it, they are, because you can't stop them from fleeing. And what kind of prosecutions can you get from it? So in terms of prosecutions, if your dog bites someone and injures them, they can sue you, you can get a fine, and you can get up to 5 years in prison for it. If someone was to die because of the cause of the dog bite, you can be sued, be fined, and you can get up to 14 years in prison for death. In terms of assistance dog, if a assistance dog is attacked, whether it lives or dies, you can get up to 3 years imprisonment, sued and fined as well. So all the links for the legislation and the blog that I found are in the links below. Just have a look at it, familiarise yourself with it, make sure you know where you stand. Like I say, in terms of people breaking in, you need to make sure that you understand that your gardens aren't private property anymore and your dog can't attack someone there. The dogs can protect you. If you go out, the dogs can protect you, but they cannot attack on their own. Best thing to do is call the police. If you go out there, remember that you can't use your dog to stop someone escaping. Just get description, what direction of travel, and relay that order to the police, and that'll help them possibly try and find them outside of your property. And my answer to the NASDO question for this video is the Dangerous Dog Act is 1991. So make sure you have a look at it in the link below, familiarise yourself with it, keep yourself safe, keep your dog safe, and just make sure you don't get yourself into any trouble. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. See you later.